Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the latest in deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we'll just be doing a small mini deck tech for the Midweek Magic event on the Edge. And looks like it's going to be basically an event where we're just bringing in a deck that contains cards from the Brothers War, Phyrexia All Will Be One, and March of the Machine, including the Aftermath. So let's go ahead, let's show you what deck we're going to be rocking today, and show you how you can get your wins in and help you get those sweet, sweet rewards. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content so you don't miss out on any of the gameplay, booster pack openings, deck decks, and so much more. So as you can see right here, we're rocking a deck that's basically going to be a 3-color Toxic deck. I know, some of you out there might be wondering, Infernoman, I'm already beyond done with Toxic, but hear me out. Again, we haven't tried this color combination yet, and again, this is just for the event, so hang in there. Let's see if we can just get our wins as fast as possible, but I'll show you again, for those of you who haven't seen this, how you can get to victory with what we've got. Now, as always, let's go over the details of the deck very quickly. We have an average mana curve about 1.5, so it's a very low average mana curve. We're going to be rocking about 20 creatures, 20 non-creature spells. Specifically, it's going to be 13 instants, 4 sorceries, 6 artifacts, and 3 enchantments with 20 lands total in the deck. We're going to be running Abzan colors, so that means white, black, and green. Now, if you already are aware of how Toxic works, it's going to be a very basic rundown for you. Basically, we're going to try to hit our opponent and try to get 10 poison counters on him to get to victory. Now, in order to pull this off, we're going to show you how we're going to do this, starting with our creatures. So we have Crawling Chorus. You've seen this before. It dies. It can create another token, so it does replace itself. Skrell Defector Might, 2 copies of this. And of course, we can prevent our opponent from blocking one of our creatures by turning it into something that's unblockable, such as our Crawling Chorus, to get more poison counters on our opponent. We're going to rock Billa's Skull Dweller. You've also seen this before. It has Toxic. It also has Death Touch, so it's a great early game blocker, and we can use it in combo with another card we'll show you in just a moment. Venerated Rot Priest. If any of our creatures become the target of a spell, we basically get a free poison counter on our opponent, and this also has Toxic 1, which is really sweet to have for us, puts a lot of pressure on our opponent. Even though it technically isn't a creature, Skrell's Hide does provide for us more Phyrexian Mites where we can create more creatures to force our opponent to either block them, or it'll put more poison counters on our opponent. With Slaughter's Stinger, this has Toxic 2, and it also gives a nice little pump to our creatures whenever they attack, as long as they have Toxic, and of course all of our creatures do have it, so it's a really sweet auto-include for this deck. Now, as far as our removal plan is concerned, we're going to just be utilizing Annex Sentry as our creature removal. This basically will just exile an artifact or a creature with a mana value of 3 or less until the Annex leaves the battlefield. It also has Toxic itself, so it's also going to be great for our deck. And as far as the way we're going to support our whole game plan, we're going to be utilizing cards such as Charge to the Mites, which can either add in more Phyrexian Mites, or we can just dish out some damage to a creature or planeswalker. In the 2-drop slot, going backwards here, we have Infectious Bite. This is going to be the card you want to kind of save with Billows Skull Dweller, so then you can just pick off bigger creatures and fight above your weight limit, and also adds on another free poison counter to the game plan. As for hard removal, we have Annihilating Glare, so simply put, we'll have to sacrifice one of our creatures. That's actually not too bad for us because we have a ton of mites, so we can just sacrifice them for value, and then usually do this as a 1-mana removal spell against any creature or planeswalker. As far as our card draw is concerned, we'll use Corrupted Conviction, since that's what we're limited to in this special little format. It'll allow us to sacrifice a creature and draw 2 cards for only 1 mana. And then finally, our protection for any of our creatures, we have Tyvar's Stand, so this can scale up if it needs to, but 9 times out of 10, you basically just want to cast this for 1, so that way you can just at least get the Hexproof Indestructible for a really cheap price. Now, as far as land base is concerned, you're going to notice here I don't exactly have all the rare lands, but basically any and all rare lands you can put into this deck, by all means be sure to do so. But as far as your otherwise overall game plan for this, it doesn't really change that much. You'll have a couple of copies of Mirex and the Seed Core. These are also going to be ways you can pump up some of your mites. Mirex, of course, it can help us just fix our mana when it comes down, but otherwise, that's basically the whole game plan for you. You're just going to see right here, we're going to have a quick little bit of footage as I'm explaining right now. You're going to try to Toxic out your opponent by just putting on a lot of early game pressure just to force out those poison counters onto our opponent, and hopefully that'll help ride you out to victory. You're not going to worry too much about trying to get, again, the life total down to the bottom. You're going to try to just leverage everything you can to just keep putting pressure on your opponent with more and more poison counters. Of course, the biggest weakness to the deck is if your opponent has a lot of early game removal or mage or wrath, we will get destroyed. But don't worry about that, because again, this is just for this format, and if you are a fan of it, you can expand on it further if you want to take this into standard or even alchemy if that is your choosing. But otherwise, I hope you did get a chance to enjoy this deck tech. It's going to be a really small, simple one because I'm working on another bigger one. I'm looking towards, of course, building a lot more non-budget decks, since it seems like some of you out there want to see some more cool stuff out there, so I will definitely be working on that. But otherwise, if you are a fan still of poison and you're not completely, for lack of a better term, sick of it, but otherwise, I hope you take this in, get your wins in, get your rewards, and you should be able to finish this very quickly. So if you are a fan, again, of just pressuring your opponent with an alternate win con besides the beatdown plan, as always, give this deck a try, and I assure you, you will not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!